we go. Okay. Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Okay, I think we are now live.
Yay.
Hello, hello. I hope this is working. Yep, it says we're live. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello to anyone who is going to be hopping on live with us today, as well as everyone that is watching the replay afterwards. I'm Cora, and I'm really excited because today not only are we talking about something that one of my favorite things to talk about, but I am joined by the lovely Alina. So if you saw in the post earlier last week, I began to introduce Alina to you. And I will be continuing to do so over the next short while so you can get to know her a bit better. But what better way to start to get to know Alina than to have her actually come on and chat with me about something. So a brief, if you didn't see the post last week, Alina here is a certified mind-body eating psychology coach. She is a certified functional nutrition coach, and she has her master's in health psychology. So she is actually here joining the Coming Back Whole team as a coach to help support my clients and help offer extra support and knowledge and guidance to all of you. So hi, Alina. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you so much, Cora, for the introduction. Yes, I'm very excited to be joining the community and helping you all. So yes, Cora said it perfectly. Today we're just gonna hop on. I'm also passionate about what we're gonna talk about today. So I hope to demythmarize you, if that's even a word, with all these nutrition myths out there. I hope to give a little clarity to that fog that we have in our society with a short little session today with Cora. So I'm excited. So let's see what we can learn.
Alina does have a client, so we're going to be getting this is a starting conversation, everyone. There's a lot to do with these topics, of course, and it's something to be further explored, but we're just going to get the conversation started today. And like Alina said, give you a few bits of clarity. Alina's going to run off to her client, and I'll stick on to add a little extra to this topic today. So with Alina, we're going to be talking about shifting our focus away from numbers when it comes to food and looking at the nutrition label and towards a new perception of quality and what we are giving ourselves. And then after Alina hops off, I'll be continuing to talk a bit more about the actual process to changing the actual behavior of that counting, the actual behavior of counting calories or looking at nutrition labels. So definitely stick on to hear a few steps that you can start taking. So let's get right into it, Alina. So the first thing that I want to pick your brain about and talk about is, like, what is the psychology behind the counting and the macro counting? So I guess an easy way to ask that is, why, as humans, do we like those numbers so much? Can you speak to that?
Yes, excellent question, Cora. So as human beings, we have like these 6 biological human needs. So they're universal. So there's a need. I'm just not going to go into all of them. There's a need to belong. There's a need to be understood. There's a need for security, a need for stability. In other words, control. So numbers most of the time serve. There is always another purpose to the numbers. It's a form of control and a form of stability and safety. So oftentimes, this is actually one of my other, like Cora is going to speak more on how to stop the behavior. And this actually ties into one of mine, how I recommend to stop it. This is a stepping stone, is to see what purpose does the counting serve for you. So for each individual, there's a deeper purpose that the counting serves, whether it is to alleviate anxiety, cope with sadness, disarray, when everything is chaotic in life, we cling to the numbers as a form of control. Everything else is in the world is going crazy, so we want stability, so we cling to something, and that's the only thing we can't control, because everything in our life is uncontrollable. We feel overwhelmed, so we choose something and we do it repeatedly. This applies to, other behaviors such as, again, OCD or things like that, that is a form of control. So that's one thing. So always ask yourself, what deeper purpose does the counting serve? Because there's always something that you're trying to run away from, and you use that. It's like a teddy bear. When we're young and little, we go to that teddy bear to hug, for that security, and those numbers become that teddy bear. So it's a need for, again, stability and control, a need for safety. Like we are afraid of the unknown. We are afraid as human beings of the unknown, so we always want to know, and numbers allow us to know.
Yeah. And I think there's so much need for compassion in that as well, in the sense that, yes, this is a human thing. No matter our age, I love that idea of the teddy bear. We need that teddy bear. It is something that is ingrained in us, and we will find a way to give ourselves that. And so I know I speak to a lot of women, and I'm sure you do too, who feel frustrated at themselves for going back to these routines or these behaviors. But I think a lot can be done by opening up compassion for why that is happening and what you are giving yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That I'm also, yeah, we are definitely hard on ourselves. We bring up the thing about willpower, or I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not about the willpower at all. I think we're being very harsh on ourselves. Like Cora said, we need to switch switch the pendulum to compassion, and how to give that need to us, but in a healthy way. So we're not, that there is a need, and we need to meet that need. It's just that counting calories is like an easier way to meet that need, but that need still needs to be met, and we cannot be hard on ourselves. We need that form of love and security. It's just through therapy and through working with someone and through finding alternative ways, you can meet that need with other healthier behaviors, and no longer need those calories, right? So there can be in the closet sitting there, but you're going to find other coping mechanism. You're going to put other tools in your toolbox that you can utilize, and of course it's going to take time. You're going to go back to the closet, open the door a little, to let the numbers escape a little bit, but it's a work in progress and small steps. But again, yes, we need to be much more compassionate with ourselves, and allow for this exploration. It's, again, a question. Explore yourself, ask yourself where what is the purpose of this, and then once you find that purpose, work with that to heal that wound and move forward.
Yeah, I think another way of asking the question you pose is, what is the purpose, that I speak about with my clients is, we do the work of building awareness, because that is one of the first steps. And then being able to get to the place where you ask, okay, what is really going on here? So in those moments where you feel that desire to count, to look at the numbers, to track, to write numbers, whatever it may be, to be able to, in that moment, say, what is really going on here? Is it really about the numbers, or am I feeling anxious and I need a sense of foundation right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. I love your everything you say about this. Moving on to the next question I had. I wanted to talk about some beliefs or some myths, let's say, about the actual nutrition label. So I guess as a first question, is there anything about the nutrition label that you would want to share that you think might surprise people or not be their first thought?
Absolutely. So one of the main things that like I hear a lot of shock is, um, the serving size, right? We often, it says like serving size, whatever. And again, the numbers are based on that serving size. So for example, if we are someone who's counting calories and we eat half the serving size or twice the serving size, we do that math, that crazy headache, right? But we often don't realize that the serving size is actually what is what a four it starts, it's age 4 and up. What a for age 4 and up body needs is what equates to that serving size. So a 4-year-old, so it covers all of those ages, whether you're 5 years old or whether you're 55 years old, that serving size is that number. And that's bizarre because what a 5-year-old needs is completely different than what a 55-year-old needs, or what a 30-year-old needs, or what an 18-year-old needs. And we often don't realize that yes, you can have 2 cups of that cereal or 2 slices of the bread, even if the serving size says 1. So a 4-year-old, it's just all the way, they just shove all the ages together and it's 4 and up. And that's the serving size. And it's mind-boggling.
That is mind-boggling. I didn't realize the age. I knew it was at a younger age, but I didn't realize it was that young. What, like, why? Why is that really just to do with regulations because all ages are going to be eating that food? Or like, is it just easy math? Why does that happen?
Yeah, a lot. Another thing is that again, the FDA, it's surprising. There's not much. Again, each brand has their own like the FDA is not really that controlling of the label. Yes, they need to regulate it, but it's more so. It so more goes to the responsibility of the brand that's selling the product or the brand. So it's more so, yeah, definitely easier. And again, majority of the main factor is that, yeah, they have this thing in mind that before 4, of course, there's like children's food and something, but after 4, children can eat adult food, right? It's safe to give them whatever adults eat. So I think that's the main factor driving this, that even if this is an adult food, a 4-year-old can still have it. And so they just mush up all the numbers because no longer is it unsafe for a 4-year-old to eat a piece of steak, for example, when it may have been something when the child was 2 or 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, and again, I think it plays into our first point of if they are going to give us a clear number and a clear box that goes with that number, our brains are going to just want to stick to that because it's the nice clear box that we're given. Our brains don't have to work as hard. So it's easy to just think that number that they say is a serving size is what we're supposed to have.
Yeah. Exactly. We want easy. We don't want to do the work. So, yeah, we just want something clarity. We want, again, we don't like the unknown. We don't like the unknown. So numbers are the only, right? Numbers are the only solid thing. And that's why it's so comforting to us, because it's like, I need a number. I need a date. I need, how many weeks do I need to wait? When are my symptoms gonna heal? I need a number, 2 weeks, 5 days, right? We don't like, oh, in a couple of months. What does that mean? We just want to know. And numbers allow us to know.
And yet, and this is a larger conversation, of course, and yet doing the work of learning how to find that sense of control and grounding and safety from within and not from the external numbers is unbelievably more gratifying. And of course, it's scary to start that process and to have that trust in something else other than those nice, clear numbers. But I'm sure you would agree with me in saying that work and finding that control it's real grounding rather than always having to grab it from somewhere else.
Absolutely. I'm very big. Yeah. I perhaps I can do a post on that to help. But inner security, I'm very big on working with developing inner security and self love within. because that is the only way to live life that is, again, life is always going to be inevitable. It's always going to be unknown. But when you have inner security within yourself, all the chaos in the world won't matter, because you will feel secure inside to deal with that insecurity outside. So the key is to build, yes, like Cora said, that inner security that within yourself, that no opinions of others or no external trigger can no longer trigger us, because we feel secure inside.
Yeah, beautifully said. So then lastly, to kind of finish off here,
Yeah.
how can someone start to look at, if we're thinking, if right now we're thinking specifically, let's say looking at a nutrition label of a food, how can someone start to look at these labels with a more life-giving or positive mindset, or what I like to talk about, an abundance mindset? So how can we start to look at these labels with a sense of positivity rather than restriction or rules or limitations? Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, I always have this thing saying turn and learn. But when you turn and learn, I just go, you just ignore the nutrition label with the numbers, and I just go to the ingredients. And the mindset I want to have is, I look at the ingredients, and again, I just focus on the whole foods in the ingredients. And for example, let's say there's I don't know, it says chicken, for example, and I just try to say, I'm going to cook chicken. It's going to build my muscle on my arms. That's going to allow me to play basketball with my daughter. For example, there's something I'm going to try to use. It's like, this is a food in nature. I again, guys, try to just the ingredients and read the food and say, how can this food, oh, this is a protein that can build my muscles, again, play basketball with my child. This is avocado, this, or olive oil. Oh my god, olive oil, fat. Oh, olive oil, it provides fat, so I can, think clearly for my next homework assignment in my second year of grad school or whatever. But try to think, reframe that. How can this ingredient that is found in nature, right, tie it to nature, because I think that that opens a door for a more grounding aspect. Grounding is another topic to discuss later on, but like grounding is very fundamental, like nature grounding. There's a specific thing, but tying that to nature gives that grounding aspect, and we feel more grounded, for the lack of a better word, and more calm, and more calm when we feel grounded. So yes, I think the key is to just focus on the ingredients again, and not focus, but again, just apply each thing you read and see what does it provide for my body, the one body I have, and think long term. What are your goals, and how can this food, like when we tell our children, oh, eat that broccoli, you won't score that goal if you don't eat that broccoli, right? So I think we should revert back to that child conversation, that compassionate conversation with ourselves, and use that in adulthood. Nothing is wrong with that. How do we make our children eat their vegetables, right? They don't not eat it because of the calories. They just don't like the taste. Innocence. But we need to allow that compassion in adults as well, to see what purpose does that food serve that is much more than numbers.
I love that idea of how we speak to children about the foods that we're trying to usually get them to eat. And you're right. There is such a language behind, this is going to do such and such a thing. This is even the things like, this is going to make your hair curly, or make you big.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yet we tend to lose that somewhere along the lines of losing what the foods do for us or give us, and rather we turn into that scarcity or that fear mindset of what it's going to do in a negative way.
Yeah. Yeah, we only focus on the weight aspect. The only thing in our mind is, what is it going to give us? Weight, fat. But we never speak to the child like that. There's never a weight aspect to the what the food gives them. Notice that every time you speak to there's always a, oh, this is going to give me fat, or increase the number on the scale. But that's never the case when we're speaking to a child. So ask yourself, would you speak to your younger self like that? Your inner child, your own child. Always ask how you speak to yourself. Is this something you want to speak to your child, to your daughter or your son, or your younger self, your inner child? If the answer is no, why are you talking like that to yourself?
And I think that is such a beautiful bridge, because I know a lot of the women that I work with and you work with and in our community, there needs to be that deeper rooted work of the belief system of, I am deserving of this nourishment. I am deserving to give good things to myself. And there can often be a disconnect between, like these women that I speak to, you speak to, would never speak to other people the way that they speak to themselves. They're some of the most compassionate, and yet there's a difference when it comes to the self. And so I think that idea of, okay, what would I say to another small child? That is clear. And then to bridge that, what would I say to my younger self, my inner child? And that can be the bridge. I know that was a huge bridge for me in being able to build compassion for myself, was starting there, starting with my relationship to my younger me, my little me, my inner child.
Absolutely. It often starts there. Yeah, it often starts with inner child work. And that's absolutely, yeah. It's bizarre how our mind works. It's like, we don't tell that to our friends, people we love, but we talk to ourselves like that. Yeah.
So I think a lot of what you just spoke of in terms of looking at the ingredients rather than the numbers, and learning to ask yourself, what do these ingredients provide me? What is in these ingredients that are good for my body? What are they going to give me? Of course, I think that also has to come along with learning those things. So learning, what are the benefits of fats? Because fat is a word that is feared. And yet fat is one of the most essential things that we need for our body. And they do so many wonderful, amazing, necessary things, but it's not the things that are talked about in social media world usually. And so I think a step to just go along with this is learning, speaking to someone such as yourself, me, a nutritionist, to start to open the mind up to the actual truths behind the macronutrients and those foods. Like, what does protein do for you? You kind of have to learn that first. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that we're so focused on the number of calories in that protein that we miss. Yes. I think education and learning about what purpose, again, does that food serve other than having calories, which is just a measure of energy, right? Seeing someone like myself, like Cora, to figure out what benefits are in fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. Absolutely. And then once you have that knowledge, it's much easier to look at those ingredients and find benefit from them, so rather than just solely focusing on how many calories are in those proteins. Again, so a calorie is not a calorie, is not like another myth is 10 calories of potato chips is not the same as 10 calories of carrots. Again, there's a lot to learn. And I think the first step is taking that opportunity to learn and educate yourself. And I think that's the first step to everything, learning, and then utilizing that knowledge.
Which is exactly the segue that I was going to use in kind of moving on a little bit. Thank you, Alina. This was wonderful. And I'm so excited that we started to introduce you here and that there's a face to a name now, and you've started to share all of your amazing knowledge and passion and expertise with everyone. So thank you so much for giving us your time. And I know you have a client, you're so busy. So
Thank you, Cora. Again, thank you, everyone. Again, I'm always here for you guys. Any questions, we're always here. Again, thank you, Cora, for having me, and enjoy the rest of the conversation. I know she's going to have a lot great things to offer. Bye, guys.
Hi, Alina. Okay, we are still live, I hope. Okay, hi, everyone. So yes, that was Alina, and I'll be introducing her further. And you can always ask me more detailed questions about how to contact Alina, etc. But I wanted to just spend a few more minutes talking now about the actual behavior change of counting calories and weighing food and looking at nutrition labels. Because as I said, and when I said the perfect segue, is like Alina said, that is the first step. The first step is starting to open your mind or even entertain the idea of opening your mind to new ideas, to new bits of education, to new possibilities. And that comes with starting to learn about nutrition, the real true facts of nutrition, not what diet culture says out there, not what the magazines say, but the real truths about fats, about carbohydrates, about protein and what they do for our body. I know understanding was a core, very helpful thing for me, because what this does, it starts to build a new foundation. Now, learning and knowing things in the mind is not going to take you all the way. And that's why we're blending these two things together. We need to start there to build that new foundation, because if you start to take actions without also working on the core belief, the core foundation that is fueling your actions, then those actions are just going to be surface level, which is why often people can go out and they can be told to do things and they can do the things, but then will easily revert right back to where they were before. So that's because that foundation, the belief systems are not worked on, are not changed. And that foundation is what is going to keep the changing of habit sustained, long lasting, entire paradigm shift versus a surface level change for a week, 2 weeks, a couple months. So the first step is to do this education, is to start to learn more about the truths behind nutrition and how your body can really handle these foods. One of the mantras that my clients love most is my body can handle this, because it's true. There are some books that you can read. I would say my favorite recommendation would be Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison. She goes into some of those nutrition myths and challenging the concepts that are learned through diet culture. Now, the next thing though is we need to start talking about the behavior, because here's the thing. The act of counting calories, the act of weighing, the act of looking at nutrition labels, they started for a reason. They started for a certain outcome. But over time, what has happened is those behaviors have simply become conditioning. So they have become just what your body does. They've become just what you do, AKA also known as a habit. They become your body's familiar action. And the thing is, familiarity is safety to your body and mind system, no matter what it is. So how do we start to change a behavior that has become a prime conditioning, has become a habit, such as counting and looking at nutrition labels? So with that foundation of building and strengthening that new understanding behind foods, as Alina talked about, here are a few tangible things that you can start doing. First of all, this has to happen in steps. Changing anything that your body has become familiar with and starting to let it go is going to be scary for your nervous system. Your body doesn't like change. So we need to work in steps so that you can gradually become used to those feelings of discomfort. You can get used to and learn how to calm and what I call regulate yourself when things are feeling uncomfortable or you're feeling anxiety because you're not doing something you're used to doing. So these happen in steps. And something that I do with clients and I can do if we work together is we break down those steps. We break down those steps into manageable things so that we can stay within your window of tolerance. We don't do too much at once so that it backfires. So the first thing would be is to choose one food. Choose one item or type of food that you are going to choose to not weigh or not measure. Let's take, for example, peanut butter. Maybe that is your first one food. And you are going to take the step of instead of putting that peanut butter in a tablespoon, you're going to just use a regular spoon or a fork or a knife. Now, depending on where you're at, and everyone here is going to be coming from different places, but whatever the step is for you, let's say it is the peanut butter step, that's probably going to build tension and anxiety and discomfort for you that first time. So then it becomes learning tools and strategies to soothe yourself through that discomfort. Because the first time is the hardest. And every time after that will get easier and easier and easier. And as you learn how to get through that feeling of discomfort by using the fork instead of the tablespoon with just peanut butter, that'll start to melt. And then we can move on to other foods as well, because now you'll start to learn that you can get through those feelings. So that is the first bit of advice. One food to start with. And with awareness and mindfulness tools and nervous system regulation tools, which I teach, learn how to, or help yourself get used to those feelings and get through them. The second step, or another step, would be to start making it really hard for your brain to count. So like Alina and I talked about, your brain doesn't like to work hard. It likes what it's used to doing, and it does not want to work as harder than it has to, which means if you can start making it harder for your brain to get to that perfect, clear number that it wants to find, it is going to start to lose interest. It's going to start to say, there's no point. This is too hard. I can't get to a real number anyways, and it'll start to lose that habit. So one way of doing that, frustrating your own brain, as I call it, is to start making more meals that are hard to count. So these would be one pot type meals, soups, stews, casseroles, things that have a number of ingredients that aren't just kind of our typical three-sectioned meal. Again, if this is something new to you or that brings up anxiety and because of the uncertainty aspect, again, we start with one idea, and we sit with those feelings, and you use those tools to get through the feelings of anxiety. And another thing to help with this step is to what Alina started talking about, is to focus on the quality of the foods in this one pot meal. So in this casserole or stew or soup, what ingredients are in there? What is in there and what do those things provide for your body? Do those beans have protein to help build your bones? Does that chili have tomatoes that have lycopene and all these other nutritional vitamins for you? Looking at the quality of those ingredients and what it's giving your body rather than trying to find that number. So that's the second step, is building more meals that are hard to count so that your brain starts to get frustrated starts to learn there's no point in trying because I don't know, I can't get to this number, and it will start to lose interest. And you will start to find over time that desire to count starts to get less and less. Lastly, we build in actual rewiring techniques. So that is what we're doing here when we talk about behavior change. We are rewiring your brain's habitual patterns, habitual ways of working. And one tool that I give to my clients is what I call stop signs. So that is literally catching yourself, catching your brain in the moment when it's starting to have a thought or it's starting to count, and stopping it in its tracks. So I use the idea of stop sign words with the women I work with. And that can be anything from nope, no, I don't want to do this. No, thank you. There's some fun ones like spam folder, junk folder. No, thank you. Whatever it may be, whatever you find works for you, a word to stop that thought, to stop the counting in its tracks. Now, at the start, you are going to have to do this on repeat, on repeat. I know I felt a little crazy sometimes because I would be having to constantly stop down these thoughts. So it takes that consistency. But again, over time, you will find that your brain starts to get the message. The brain starts to think, okay, I keep trying to send her this message of counting and she's just like not having it. It's just like kind of not going anywhere. So what's the point of me sending it to her anymore? The brain will start to learn that and start to rewire. Because the idea behind behavior change is you need to teach your body. You need to teach your brain that this behavior, this habit is no longer of interest. It's no longer needed, that you no longer need to go to it. And again, underlying all of this, of course, is learning those tools to self-regulate, to self-soothe, to not only teach your body, but help your body learn that not counting, not doing these behaviors, it's still going to be safe, and that it is okay not knowing that number. And there are strategies and there are tools in different forms that can help you do that and help you get through those feelings. So those are a few steps to start thinking about and taking. Of course, this is scary because it's new. And it takes consistency and it takes building of steps, which is why working with me or Alina or another support system that works with behavior change is very important to keep that consistency going and to keep you feeling regulated and safe as you have these new experiences. So if you have any questions for me or Alina, pop them in the chat below, reach out to either of us personally through direct message. And if you're interested to learn how you can have this type of support and work with us, absolutely ask us those questions as well. We would be happy to answer them for you. I hope this was a very informative and inspiring and motivating talk, and I can't wait to speak to you again. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.